Ecuador's presidential candidate for the Citizens' Revolution Party, Luisa Gonzalez, presented Wednesday a plan to benefit the country's region where violence, unemployment, and immigration have worsened. A federal court in New York sentenced Wednesday former Senator Bob Menendez to 11 years in prison after a bribery and corruption case. And at least 40 people lost their lives while dozens were injured in India after a stampede at a bathing ritual during the Hindu festival of Mahakumbh. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Ecuador's presidential candidate Luisa Gonzalez of the Citizens' Revolution Party, RC, presented Wednesday the Play Safe plan focused on the central highland region of the country where violence, unemployment and immigration have worsened. According to the presidential candidate, the plan includes the construction of a regional pediatric hospital and the creation of an extended surveillance center at a special economic development zone linked to the Latacunga airport. On the other hand, regarding insecurity, she pointed out how January has been the most violent month in the country's history, with more than 645 homicides, mainly in the central highland region. In order to address this problem, she proposed as part of the COSAI plan to increase police presence in the area and use advanced technology for intelligence tasks.
We are going to create a special surveillance monitoring center, a more expanded 911 that can ensure the security of our brothers and sisters throughout the region, throughout the central zone, and it will be located in Ambato City. In third place, the productive sector, which has been so affected. We are going to build a special economic development zone that will also be linked to the Latacunga airport, and in this way we will also generate economic dynamism in the whole area, thus generating employment.
The National Assembly of Nicaragua is moving forward in the discussion process to approve a partial reform of the country's constitution. According to the information disclosed by the legislative body, the reform is aimed at modernizing and updating the government in order to guarantee security and prosperity in the nation. Through the debate process, deputies will approve the country's political administrative structure, as well as the primacy of the constitution, its reform and constitutional laws. In this sense, the first Vice President of the Parliament, Arlene Alonso, pointed out that in this second stage of the revolution, with the government headed by President Daniel Ortega, the positive aspects stated in the original reform were retaken in the Constitution. The Mexican government dismissed the U.S. administration's threats to impose an increase in export tariffs. During her daily morning conference, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum assured that she has already prepared a plan to deal with the increase in tariffs proposed by the government of the United States. She also affirmed that this plan will only be revealed if Trump fulfills his threats. However, she reiterated that her government position is to maintain positive bilateral relations with Washington. The statements came after the White House confirmed that from February 1st, an increase in export tariffs would come into force for Mexico and Canada, both trade partners of the United States.
No creemos que vaya a ocurrir, la verdad. Y si ocurre, también tenemos nuestro plan.
We don't think it will happen, and if it does, we also have our plan. We will inform you, we will do it in due course, but we don't think it will happen. As I said, there are talks, there is dialogue, so we don't think this definition of tariffs is going to happen, but we are also prepared.
The Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum assured that the national economy has improved considerably and that everything is ready to welcome the migrants deported by the U.S. President Donald Trump.
La economía de México está muy fuerte. Las reservas del Banco de México
Mexico's economy is very strong, the reserves of the Bank of Mexico are at record high, we have already dealt with the issue of inflation, employment is doing well, so there is a lot of strength.
Y ayer además me dio mucho gusto, la verdad, muchísimo gusto. A ver si los
And
invitamos
yesterday I was
a
also very happy. Let's see if we invite them to the morning conferences or we can hold an event, this vocation. A union of many Mexican businesswomen and businessmen who said that this is for our fellow countrymen and women.
y esto es para nuestros paisanos y paisanas, 50,000 empleos.
50,000 jobs are ready for our migrant brothers and sisters, if they come to Mexico whether for deportation or for voluntary reasons, because they decide to do so, they will always be welcome here.
Voluntarias porque así lo deciden, aquí siempre van a ser bien recibidos.
And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. A federal court in New York sentenced Wednesday former Senator Bob Menendez to 11 years in prison after a bribery and corruption case. The deliberations took just over 12 months over the course of 3 days after Menendez and 2 other defendants were convicted on all counts against them last July. Prosecutors have asked the federal judge to give the Democrat 15 years behind bars for crimes that included acting as an agent of the Egyptian government and selling his once considerable clout in Washington for gold bars, a luxury car, and hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash bribes. The court had also given 7 and 8 years in prison sentences to 2 New Jersey businessmen who were convicted of paying bribes to Menendez. The former senator has been seeking a pardon from President Donald Trump after he was unable to get one from former President Joe Biden. Former Senator Bob Menendez managed to be the Hispanic with the highest ranking position in the United States and was always a strong advocate for keeping the illegal sanctions against Cuba and Venezuela. In 2014, together with the then Senator Marco Rubio, he introduced a bill to extend for 3 years more the illegal sanctions against Venezuela. According to Menendez, the blockades should be maintained since, in his opinion, any attempt to lift them would empower governments that do not respond to the interests of the United States government, even if such actions may violate international law. In Greenland, 85% of the population rejected annexing the island to the United States territory. An opinion poll indicated the figure of Greenlanders that do not wish their Arctic island to become a part of the U.S. The survey by pollster Varian, commissioned by the Danish newspaper Berlingske, the Greenlandic daily Sermit Siag, showed only 6% of Greenlanders are in favor of annexing their island to the U.S., with 9% undecided. In addition, the poll showed that 45% viewed Trump's interest in Greenland as a threat, leaving 13% undecided. The poll comes amid tensions with the United States after President Donald Trump said that Greenland is crucial to his country's security and that Denmark should give up its control over the island. A plane of Colombia's Air Force landed on Wednesday in the country with 105 Colombian citizens deported from the United States, constituting the third flight of its kind that lands in the South American nation. The passengers included several children who returned to the country with their families that now face a difficult situation after their expulsion from U.S. territory. The flight is part of the repatriation process coordinated between the Colombian authorities and the U.S. government within the new migratory measures implemented. Meanwhile, the Colombian government indicated that it will provide support to the returnees in the reintegration process, and it has also provided basic assistance and guidance to ensure that those affected can adapt in the best way possible. The 6th International Conference on World Violence, under the name With All and for the Good of All, is being held in Havana, Cuba. The conference brings together 900 delegates from 93 countries and 400 Cubans and is a world's meeting of plural and multidisciplinary ideas held every 2 years by UNESCO's José Martí Project for International Solidarity. During the opening session on Tuesday, the coordinator of the event's organizing committee stressed the urgency to build a better future as dreamed by Cuba's national hero, José Martí. He pointed out that Cuba does not organize this conference to gain credit, which is subjected to an international conflict, an arms race, climate change, and social injustices across the world. The conference will close on Friday.
Yo voy a insistir solo sobre un aspecto que es el carácter.
I am going to insist only on one aspect, which is the deep admiration that Fidel felt for what we could call Martí's intellectual honesty, his profound honesty in this character of Martí.
Su honestidad profunda y este carácter de Martí en todo caso
seen by Fidel as a man of virtues. In particular, Fidel used to tell me, for example, when we were working on He Book 100 Hours with Fidel.
Tenía la costumbre de decir, me decía, por ejemplo, cuando estábamos trabajando sobre 100 horas con Fidel, decía, tú puedes
He used to say, "You can ask me whatever you want. I will never tell you a lie. I will never tell you a lie." Even the book ends by him telling us,
te diré una mentira. Y además, el libro 100 horas con Fidel se termina en el que él dice,
"You can come back and see us whenever you want. The doors of this country will always be open, and we will never lie to you."
de este país estarán abiertas y nunca te mentiremos.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The German government slashed its growth forecast for 2025 as industry leaders sent dire warnings over the country's economy and staged nationwide protests to urge reforms. Europe's leading economy is expecting to increase by just 0.3% this year, according to the Ministry of Economy. The figure was significantly lower than the government's previous estimate of 1.1% growth made in October last year. According to Economy Minister Robert Habeck, another 12 months of near-zero growth would follow 2 straight years in which the economy has been in recession. The downward revision could be traced back to domestic political instability, with Germany headed for an early election on February 23rd after the collapse of the government last year.
We see that my services, and those of my staff, are only worthwhile for the tax authorities. We see that out of every 100 euros we earn, only 30 euros goes to our employees. That's simply too little.
We have been talking about deindustrialization for a very long time, about the fact that Germany must become a service society. But none of this has been thought through. Mr. Habeck himself said that he was just throwing ideas around and that he would work out the details later.
In India, at least 40 people lost their lives and dozens were injured after a stampede at a bathing ritual during the Hindu festival of Mahakumbh. The event took place at the confluence of the Ganges and Yamuna rivers in the state of Uttar Pradesh, northern India. The crowd rushed to enter the river to bath in the early hours on Wednesday, January 29th, on Mauni Amavasya, considered one of the most auspicious days during the 45-day festival that runs until February 26th. At least 20 bodies were handed over to their families after 14 hours of work to assess the exact number of fatalities. Prime Minister Narendra Modi regretted the event and sent his condolences to the families of the deceased. In In Venezuela, a tribute was paid to Piedad Córdoba, who dedicated her life to defend human rights and peace in Colombia and Latin America. During the ceremony, participants and authorities highlighted her role as Senator of Colombia, since she dedicated her life to promote projects in favor of social equality and against discrimination. They also recalled her struggle in defense of the Union of America and the fight against colonial interests that seek to plunder the natural resources of the country of Latin America and the Caribbean. It should be noted that this event took place within the framework of the exhibition Canto para Piedad, which will be open to public until January 31st at the Rómulo Gallegos Center for Latin American Studies in the city of Caracas. Moscow launched Wednesday a special metro train decorated with traditional Chinese symbols to mark the Lunar New Year. The train features intricate designs of a golden dragon and other iconic Chinese imagery and will run for about a month to offer commuters and tourists a unique cultural experience as it traverses the Russian capital. According to the Chinese ambassador to Russia, the train is a symbolic gesture to strengthen cultural and diplomatic ties with China. The train will connect the eastern and western parts of Moscow and is expected to be seen by around 250,000 locals and visitors over the coming months. We have come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.